All right, what's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. It's wanted to start a video and share my thoughts on a little psychology of trading and also just a chart that I'm watching, a stock that I'm pretty much watching for this week and why. Um, the first part is just basically going to be on the psychology part of it because a lot of people don't realize it, but that's mostly what trading consists of: is your psychology, your thought process, your emotions, your fear, and just your determination to want to trade. And that's basically what we're going to get into, and when I'm going to explain to you why you know you're probably failing or you're not getting the returns or getting you know the moves and all the benefits of trading that you were looking forward to in the beginning. And it's probably really simple, and it boils down to the fact that you just probably just don't love trading. And it sounds crazy, it sounds like like borderline crazy. Yeah, like you literally have to love this. You have to really want to do this every day. You have to want to look at charts. The thought of a flag breakout has to excite you. You have to have that passion where it's to the point where it's not even it's not work. It's just something you love to do. It's And again, if you're looking at a chart and you see something, and something as simple as a breakout or a flag pattern, and it doesn't just pop up in your head and you just don't get excited at the thought of it. Or when you're looking at someone else's chart and you're seeing things that you haven't seen before, or that maybe things you have seen and it stands out to you, and that doesn't motivate you to want to pull up your own chart and look into some things that you also seen. If it doesn't do any of that for you, then 9 times out of 10 this is not going to be something for you. You're not going to be successful at it. You got to think of it this way: there's a lot of jobs out there that you know can bring you money, and that's basically what people are in this for. They're basically trying to trade and get into this game for the money, which makes sense. It's fine. It's understandable. That's why we're all doing it, to get paid, right? But think of it this way: think of all the discords and all the YouTube channels and all the followers and people joining discords and paying money just to get into trading every day. And you got to think of it this way: why are they getting in? Why is there so many people joining so fast, with this eager to just jump into something like this? And of course, like I said, it's the money. But trading isn't the only occupation that brings you money. I mean, you have lawyers, you have doctors, anesthesiologists, all these other fields that generate income as well. But you don't see that many people rushing to jump into that field. You know why? It's because basically they know it's not easy. They know it requires hard work. It's going to take some years to get to that point where you can make the kind of money that they're making. So they're not that eager to jump into it because 9 times out of 10 they don't like it. They don't have a passion for that field. And again, they don't want to do the work. But for some reason, people don't think the same thing applies to trading. You can't just jump into trading and thinking you're going to make money if you don't even like it or you don't have any kind of passion for it. It's the same thing. It's not easy. And unfortunately, that's also what it is. People think it's easy. We all know to be a lawyer is not an easy job. We all know being a doctor is not an easy job. It's like I said, it's going to take work. But for some reason, people think trading doesn't have the same dedication, doesn't have the same type of drive as far as starting up, getting into that field. You have to want to put in the work. You have to be ready to dedicate your time to this. And again, you have to want to do it. And that's just what the problem is. You probably just want the money. You're not thinking about the actual job itself. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, you're better off trying to be a doctor in one day, because you're going to fail at that, just like you're going to fail at trading because you're not going to put in that effort. The thought of, like I said, of a chart and patterns and going over charts every day on weekends or whenever you can is, if that doesn't motivate you, if you can't put in that effort to do it, then you're not going to be successful at it. Just like a person that's trying to be a doctor, that's not going to read books, that's not going to go over studying everything that they need to study in order to get over the test the next day. The same thing is going to apply when you wake up in the morning and turn on your computer. You can't just jump on the computer looking at some charts and thinking you can push a few buttons and make money consistently. Granted, it can happen. You can join a little Discord group and follow call out every now and then, and there can be one hitter quitters in trading. You can follow a call out, and of course you're not knowing what, as far as what the call out consists of. You might even hold that trade all day and use your full portfolio and double and triple your account in one day. But I guarantee you that same portfolio that you just tripled, you're gonna blow it the next day or the day after, because you're gonna follow that same pattern of just holding on to a trade thinking it's gonna run and not knowing what you're doing. And I know people have seen it. We all seen it. We see people that are not familiar with trading. They're going inside Discord, they're asking the simplest questions. They're just and it's kind of annoying, because you're like, how can you just literally just open up an account, join a group with no knowledge of something, and expect to make money, and then expect people to answer questions that you have that you're not putting in your own effort to find out yourself. So it all boils down to you wanting to do this. If you don't want to do it, if you're only wanting to do it for the money, again, that's fine, but you still have to have some kind of passion for it, and it's gonna show at some point. And I just think people just need to take a little more seriously. You can't just open up an account, join a group, and think that you're gonna replicate the returns that you're seeing that's motivating you. Personally, an account that's showing $10,000 to $15,000 P&Ls every day, that shouldn't motivate you. I mean, it's nice to see. I mean, it is a little encouraging to a point where you feel like maybe this is going to be me one day. But honestly, it doesn't really do anything for you, because you really need to see or know what they did to get to that point. I notice a lot of accounts with have the most followers, and those are the ones that are posting the huge P&Ls. And then I'm seeing smaller uh, Instagram or social media accounts that are posting content, charts, and giving you information about why they made the trade. They're not showing how much money they make, and people aren't following them because for some reason they either think they're not successful, or they just want to see money. That's basically what it is. They just want the money. But yeah. But again, if looking at a chart doesn't motivate you to go out there and do good and put work into it, you're probably going to fail very quickly. So again, just looking at this, I know hopefully you can see my chart. I'm using the long way. I believe it's landscape. I don't know. Kind of hard to remember if it's landscape or portrait, but it should be easier to see on your phone in this sense. But just looking at this chart, if a few things don't stand out to you, um, it doesn't jump out to you right away, it's okay. That's just part of learning. This is basically something that you just pull up every day, and you just realize, as the people say in the market, it doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Like, these are patterns that you'll see. You may not see them perfectly every time, but basically they're there. In this case, you can see this very nice descending triangle. And this is one of the patterns that I like to play, and this is like one of my favorites when it comes to breakouts. I personally prefer breakouts. I know a lot of people are better at, playing supply and demand zones, which I'm trying to get better at now. I actually saw a really, really good video from conservative collectors on supply and demand, and it basically made me want to look at charts from a different point of view from that standpoint. And that's why I feel like I have a better understanding. It's things that I've probably known already, but I'm also looking at things that I've seen in the video that help me also with pinpointing supply and demand. And I'll show you later on Tesla, which actually is a chart that I'm going to go over that I'm really excited about this week. But even without knowing supply and demand, if you're looking at this, first thing you should also see is, if you notice, you can see an inverse head and shoulders pattern, which is also very bullish. So right there, you can see, you have a bullish sentiment right there. So this breakout also should also just give you some kind of incentive to play this trade, or play the breakout. And another thing that people are also doing that's probably is not going to help you, and this is why you're failing also. Your emotions are taking over. If you may see this and you may not see it, but for those that actually see it and recognize it and aren't jumping in, it's simple. You're just scared, and you're worried that this trade may not work out for you. And then all of a sudden, when it goes up and it takes off and you're not in the trade, what do? of course you end up chasing it, right? Because now you're looking at it from a standpoint where, okay, this is actually working in my favor, and this is going and going, and then you're getting FOMO. So you let it run, of course, as it gets to all-time highs. This is when you want to, for some reason, people love to play the breakouts of all-time highs, which is good for scalping, I believe, but I personally wouldn't play that for on a swing trade. But, as it's breaking out, people are entering here at the top. And then what happens? You get a pullback. And before you know it, people are panicking and they're selling right there on the pullback. Because why? You bought at the top, and of course, 9 times out of 10, sellers are going to come in and take profit, and they're going to get out. And who are they selling it to? The retail buyers that's sitting there taking their time, getting FOMO, and watching it run on them. And what do? Next day, pulls back. And you're still holding on to it, thinking you got a chance. So get a little gap up. It comes back to around break even and pulls back again. And this is where you start to panic. This is your second day. You start thinking the market isn't for me. The market hates me. Why did I buy it here? And why when I buy it, so it goes back down, and you're selling it. But again, if you're someone that's paying attention, and if you're looking at the charts, you're noticing that this is actually a nice place, a pullback, and kind of a demand zone. As you can see, this was previous resistance. So this is actually a good place to actually take the trade and enter it, and test it out for another break and a continuation pattern. But again, you're not going to notice that, or you're not going to pay attention to that if you're just chasing a move to the top. It all boils down to just paying attention. It's so simple. Trading can be so simple if you just pay attention. But unfortunately, it's harder. It's not as easier done. It's easier said than done. Is one of those things. And then again, this is where people start to question a person that went in the trade. That this is where the rookies and all the news, they just come in and they want to ask a million questions. Oh, how did you know to buy here? How did you know it was going to take off? And 1,000 questions. And the only obvious answer I can tell you, and it's basically the fucking truth, is no one knows. No one knows where the stock is going. No one knows if it's going to run, if it's going to pull back. It's just I'm sorry, it's no one knows it. It's no other way to put it. But I can tell you that they're playing the probability. They're not worrying about if this doesn't go in their favor, because they have a plan. Their plan is simple. It breaks out, I'm going to play the breakout. Simple as that. That's it. If it goes against me, I have a stop loss. I have a plan to get out. And if it runs, I have a target more than likely. But for the most part, they're going to take the breakout. They're not going to ask questions. They're not going to wonder why it's doing this and where should I get out. Everything is already set in their head. So while you're asking these people, how did you know to do this? How did you know to do that? They didn't know. They basically are looking at the same thing you're looking at, and they're just not hesitating. It's like I said, it's very simple. It may sound simple, and the day may come where you see a breakout, and all of a sudden your emotions take over, and then you're back to the same boat, hesitating and wondering if it's going to go with you or if it's going to pull back and you're going to lose money. And again, that's not the way you should think about it. You should detach yourself from the money also, and that's another way. And that's something that also separates the best traders from the novice traders. They're focused on making the money or losing money, when you need to just focus on the trade. This is just an A1 setup. You take it, even if it pulls up to this level and pulls back and you take the loss, fine. You live and learn, move on to the next one, and you can just wait. And more than likely, it's still setting up, it's still in the downtrend triangle. So at some point, you may see it break out again. It may pull back, and then it's going to break out at this point. So what do? You take it again. You don't sit there and think about the last time it broke out and pulled back. You're right. You're looking for the breakout to run, and that's the trade. All right. So again, just stop overthinking it, people. If you're trading and you're learning and you're looking at charts and you're realizing, well, I like breakouts, I like pullbacks, just focus on what you like and play it. You're only get better as you focus on what you're good at. You know, you're only going to get results if you pull the trigger. It makes no sense to sit there and see this happen in front of you and take off, and you're just sitting there upset at yourself, and then before you know it, you got FOMO. You're just buying it because you're like, okay, it's going to run, it's going to keep going. I don't believe that's the best way to do it. And unless, like I said, if you like pullbacks, play the pullback. You see, this is also something that's very common. Again, patterns, they simply repeat themselves. You get a nice little dip, a little flag. You want to call it a flag pattern, or whatever you want to call it, bull flag. Play the breakout or play the dip. Same thing. Small one here. These things, these patterns are everywhere. All right. The market is just an opportunity to make money at every chance you get. If you just pay attention to the smallest things, you would never think drawing lines can make you money, but it's possible. Just pay attention to what you see in front of you. All right. And the last thing I'm just gonna go over is just Tesla. This is basically what I'm looking for this week. As you can all see here, this is just a naked chart of it. And again, this comes with charting and going over the market. This is where you start to get better and realize, you know, how to play different setups and, you know, what the stock is actually doing. Clearly, we know Tesla's just been running. That's basically what it's doing. It's been doing it since it broke out of this 800 range and ran all the way to 1250, and that's what Tesla does. If you were around last year when it broke, I forgot what range it was, but once it broke out of the range it was in, and it ran probably for the just straight up. It just ran straight up right before the split, and as you can see, it looks like it's in the same boat again. It's just running, and finally it's pulling back. So for me, what I'm looking for now, if you didn't get a chance to play this, I don't know how, if you missed any of this, you can still catch the next continuation of the next move. And I think that's what Tesla's setting up right now. So the first thing I'm noticing is a nice big bull flag pattern right here. And this is a 4-hour chart. And also what I'm noticing here was a nice demand zone when it went below, when it went to the 1,000-point range. So I'll even pull up what I have charted for it. Just make a little more detail. There you go. So I wanted to just go over just wanted to show first the naked chart of it, of just a long-term chart and just what it's been doing on a bigger time frame. And now I'm just going to break it down into a smaller time frame. Well, same time frame, just a tighter range of what's happening in this as it's moving in now. So first thing you can see here is as it broke above, it started to get a little bit of supply, and that's just normal. It ran, like I said, how many 100 points? It's gonna stop at some point, and this is basically a tell of where you actually get to that point where you might want to start looking for it to pull back. So it got into this strong psychological level of about 1200 around this time, and you can see these wicks basically pulling right back down. Tested another supply zone, a demand zone now. As you can see, as it touched through this level, it was being bought up, and again testing this area again, the 1200 zone, pullback. It's now creating like a small little range. Now it was able to break out of the supply zone, so now what you can see is a bigger push. It's still continuing and heading higher after hours, as you can see, and it's actually forming now a bull flag up top. But again, this is after a long period of just running straight up. So I personally was looking for a flag breakout, but again, if it would have broke, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been anything. I wouldn't expect anything big from it. Maybe just a test, maybe back to 1250. But at this point, you have to just let it just rest and come back down. And as you can see, that's basically what it did. It actually ended up gapping down. I forgot. I think that was news that Elon selling stock, or I believe, I'm not sure, but as it gapped down, as you can see, what happens, it comes back up to that previous supply zone around again, same psychological level, 1200, could not break, pulled back into the same range that it just left out of. So now if you're just paying attention, you're just watching this range, you're not buying anything, you're not selling, you're just looking and watching, see how the stock reacts. All right, so now the next day, same thing, pre-market, it's still testing that area, still not breaking above that 1200 psychological level. And what do you get? You finally get a harsh pullback and a decline right through demand. And as it breaks demand, it's just, I remember this day, it was a very good day to be in puts and making money from just that drop. And what does it do? It takes you right back to a previous demand zone. As you can see here, buyers stepped in around this level, which was, if you were paying attention this day, you noticed this was basically a big tail. As the market opened the next day, in that $1,000 area, it just ran for the first 20-30 minutes. I believe it just went straight up, and from the end of the day, it just stayed bullish, and that was just a strong sign that buyers are waiting in this level. But again, the market is tricky. It's not sitting there trying to give you money or making you think you can do it easily. So what does it do? It pulls back again. But again, it's still testing the same previous demand zone. And the same thing happens again. Now, you may have bought here and rode it up and still held on looking for the bigger move, looking for a new push to test all-time highs. But the market isn't going to be that simple. It's not going to just give you that money. So what does it do? It pulls back. It maybe shakes you out here as you see it's testing your previous break-even zone. And as you can see, people did sell. I'm sure a lot of people sold just to avoid taking that loss. But if you, like I said, if you look back and see the bigger picture, it's still on the flag pattern. So this is still an area where buyers can step in. So if you had, what they call paper hands, you were selling right here or taking a loss. Meanwhile, if you were someone that was just looking at the chart on a bigger time frame and looking at this flag pattern, you're holding because you remember what happened last time. This demand zone basically is where buyers stepped in, and again they stepped in again, brought it right back up. All right, had it trading right back into this range it was in, testing previous supply. And also on the fibs, you can see that was also the 50% mark on the fibs on the retracement. All right. So now why I'm liking it also is because it's now breaking out of that previous supply zone. You see, which was 1120. 1120 was a strong level. I was watching it again. Fortunately I didn't catch the break at 1120. I'm unable to actually watch the market 24/7 like I would like to, as I'm still working a full-time job. But I know a lot of people did catch this breakout and are holding, and I'm expecting Tesla to gap up tomorrow over 1150, and maybe take off and test this previous supply zone. This is basically my target where I'm looking for the 1200, where we had the heavy supply area right before it gapped down. But again, this is a matter of history just repeating itself, and you're just following what you're seeing on the chart. All right. Also, what I'm liking is, if you can look at the bottom, you can see this TTM squeeze is happening also. All right. Now, what this indicates is just momentum. Light blue is a great sign. It's a sign that momentum is coming up to the upside. All right. Dark blue is just as good as just showing that it's still momentum to the upside, just decreasing a little bit. All right. So let's see. As you can see here, this is where what I'm looking for. I'm not the best. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the best when it comes to the TTM squeeze, but I'm basically looking at what it's been doing and what it's doing now. So as you can see, as it took off here, as you see the squeeze, the red is indicating it's just getting tighter and it's squeezing, and it's momentum building up. So as momentum builds up, you're going to see some consolidation, which you can see here, and it's going to be in a nice little range. And when it breaks out of that consolidation, what you want to see is the TTM squeeze. You want to see the blue indicator, light blue indicator, moving upward, which is a signal in momentum for buyers coming in. And as you can see, that's what happens. All right, buyers stepped in, indicator takes off, stock price takes off. You also can see here it's getting dark blue, which is, like I said, it's not necessarily bearish, but it is just showing that the momentum is decreasing. So as it's decreasing, it's not necessarily a bad sign, because, like I said, it's staying right where it should be, and then which is signaling a pullback. And once that pullback breaks out, and you can also see a nice flag pattern there, which is also a good sign to play the breakout. So you have two things on that case. You have a flag pattern and the TTM squeeze showing that the momentum is just dying out but not decreasing to the downside. So if it was decreasing to the downside, if it was showing downside momentum, you would see red, which is signaling those sellers are stepping in, which, as you can see here, all right, downtrend, red, all right, uptrend, light blue, slow down a little bit, just dies down a little, consolidation, and then take off. Now, what I like about it, again, here is basically the same thing you're seeing here. All right, the downtrend is, as you can see, it was part of the last few days, and momentum started to dry out to the downside, and what you get now is momentum to the upside. And what you're also seeing is you're no longer seeing any yellow or red at this point. And last time you got that, where you got the tight squeeze and consolidation, it pretty much ran for days. As you can go further back, same thing here. All right, consolidation, run, just ran. All right. Now, as you can see here, this is also why I like it, because you're not getting any kind of, no sign of any, downside momentum. Where you got here, this is basically why the uptrend was strong, but wasn't as strong as it looks like it is now. As it pulls back and momentum is dying out, you also start to see some selling momentum kick in, which is what you don't want to see. And here is we're not getting that at all. You're not getting any selling momentum. You may get a little momentum decreasing on the upside, but no momentum increasing to the downside. And that's also what I like. So what I'm expecting is a break over this 1145 area, 1150, which is probably a strong psychological level. Possibly gap over it in the morning, and a test to 1200. And that's basically the trade that I'm looking for, just to test the 1200 location right now. Maybe consolidate a little bit, or maybe run right through it. Who knows? Like I said, no one knows. You just have a plan, and play the plan. Now, if take profit here and you start to see that it actually breaks out above this level, then that's also a good buying opportunity. And with having that 1200 previous supply zone as your stop loss. So this is still supply as of right now, but if it breaks above it, what you're looking for now is just going to be considered previous supply. So at that point, previous supply is more than likely going to turn into new demand. So you want that to hold for support and ride that up to all-time highs, 1250, and see what Tesla can do, because I believe it can basically break 1200 and run past all-time highs at this point. This is a strong flag pattern that I'm looking at here, and on a bigger time frame. All right, and that's basically all I have for here. This is what I'm watching for this week, Tesla, and good luck to everyone else. If you're playing it, if you're already in, I know a lot of people already jumped in on Friday, and they're gonna see some profits in the morning. They're gonna get some extra profits as it gaps up, and hold the runners, and just take it from there. Thank you.